just make sure that we can hear.
All right. Please ask Charlie.
Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, Mayor. We are all here and ready.
All right. I chose 6:30. Is that okay for you guys to start?
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Salt Lake City Council for Monday, October 11th at 6:30. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Clark.
I'm here.
Councilmember Infante.
Here?
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Arona.
Here.
Mayor Ureg.
Here. And Councilmember Infante, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I would be glad to. The hand of your heart, please. Start with me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give me 1 second here, trying to find the next item on the agenda. Madam City Manager, we are not going to do the resolution, is that my understanding? So no presentations or ceremonial items at this time?
Mayor, the next item would be the presentations, and we do have one presentation for the Rotary International for Polio Day Proclamation.
Okay. Were you going to read that?
I think Mayor Pro Tem is, Mayor Pro Tem
Arona,
Arona is.
Yes. So tonight we have a proclamation for the World Polio Day. Whereas Rotary is a global network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. And whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. And whereas to date, Rotary has contributed more than $2.2 billion and countless volunteer hours to protecting nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas these efforts are providing much needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. And whereas in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to the effort. And whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotary members in 36,000 clubs throughout the world that sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment under local communities abroad. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Pro Tem Claudia Orona, on behalf of Mayor Charlie Ureg, along with the City Council of the City of Solvang, California, do hereby proclaim October 24, 2021, World Polio Day in Solvang, and encourage all citizens to join me and Rotary International in the fight for a polio-free world. Thank you so much for all you do, and is this a good time to
Thank you.
do pictures?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Wait a minute, all right.
Super.
All right. And thank you so much for what you do for our community.
Well, thank you very much. This is, I mean, it's sort of like we're on the, this is sort of like big football game where it's the fourth quarter. We're on the 1 yard line. We need a touchdown to win the game. We can't give up when we're on the 1 yard line. And so, though we have made huge progress up to this date, this is the sort of thing where we can't just back off. We need to win the game in order to be able to celebrate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And all of the Rotaries that are part of the San Ynez Valley, Buellton, and Los Olivos Rotaries as well. Thank you all for your service to our communities. Next, we have public communications. And Madam City Clerk, would you please read the item on the agenda coming up for public communication?
The council welcomes your input. At this time, you may address the council on items not on the agenda and consent agenda. Time limit is 3 minutes. Is there anyone wishing to speak on non-agenda or consent items?
Madam City Manager, I don't know if there were any speaker slips on the dais.
Okay, let's open it up to anyone. There's nobody coming up in person to speak on items not on the agenda. If anyone on Zoom would like to speak on items not on the agenda, please unmute yourself.
Yes. Yes, I should be unmuted. My name is Chris Horn. Thank you. I'm one of 20 Solvang residents affected by the recent shed setback enforcement actions. And my neighbors and I would like to request time on the next available city council agenda to discuss two separate but related issues that have impacted us. We'd like to present simple proposals for your consideration related to, first, Solvang's current complaint-based municipal code enforcement system, and then second, the Solvang municipal code definitions and setbacks related to small sheds. Ideally, we think these should be treated as two separate agenda items because they're different issues and we don't want to see them conflated and one minimized versus the other. So that's the request, but we're open to however you would like to structure it. And we would like to basically present City Council with proposals based on our research into how other similar small towns with lots of character manage their municipal code for the benefit of residents and public safety. So we're requesting time for that, and we appreciate your consideration of granting us that. And that concludes my request.
All right, thank you, Mr. Horn. Madam City Manager, I think we could possibly add that to our next council agenda item.
Is there a general consensus amongst council members to return? Put it on a future agenda.
Yes.
Thank you. We have general consensus, Mayor. We'll bring it back at the next council meeting.
Okay. So Mr. Horn, just make sure you get in touch with our city manager to, if there's any items such as a PowerPoint or anything that you would like to present, just make it, get that all ready for her so that we can have that set up so there won't be any glitches in the presentation.
Thank you, I will do that.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else out there in wanting to speak on any items that are can be brought to the council but that are not on the agenda for tonight? From my position, I'm not seeing anyone, so,
There's no further comment.
okay. So I'm only seeing one thing, and that's my face, so. Anyways, on to item number 2, city manager report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So, start off today's city manager report. I would like to just get everybody's attention that we are seeking community input on a number of items. So the first one is going to be the HCA Park Improvements. We are in the process as the city applying for grant funds for improvements which were brought to the council as part of our CIP program and the current financial plan. But as part of that effort, we would like to receive some community input to make sure that we are headed in the right direction with the improvements that we are proposing. So we have a survey that's available on our website that will take only a few minutes for residents to fill out. And the proposed improvements to the HCA include playground equipment for toddlers, hiking trail improvements, including installation of exercise stations, and a pump track. So we're just looking for some community input on whether or not those are the preferred improvements that we have the ability to receive grant funds this year. Also to remind everybody that we are continuing to collect input for the district or elections by district, and we encourage everybody to continue to provide input throughout this time before we return back to council with draft maps, which will be posted on February 7th of 2022. And then we'll have more public hearings with the council before those districts are formed in the month of March. But in the current time, encourage everybody to visit the dedicated website, which is districtsolving.org. On the website, there is an updated calendar now, which also links to the prior hearings and all the public input that has already been received with videos and the agenda items. It also has the interactive map and an email address for public to submit any comment. So just alerting everybody's attention that that process does continue, and we definitely look for everybody's input through February 7th when the draft maps will be posted. The general plan update, the GPAC had met at the end of September to discuss alternative choices. And based on that meeting and just the fact that this alternative choices conversation is so important for this community and for this process, we have moved the public workshop on alternative choices from November 4th, which is what I was mentioning before, to January 12th. Basically, we want to ensure that we have enough time to post the planning documents, the alternative choices with the feedback that we received from GPAC online at www.plansolving.com, which is the dedicated website for this effort, and to allow the community to really have some time to digest, read the materials, and provide any input even ahead of the workshop. And then on the January 12th, we would have the community workshop, which is currently tentatively planned to be in person. It would take place again at the Veterans Hall. And those alternative choices conversation, the community input will really inform the rest of the general plan update and the technical documents that will be put together. You also have the groundwater sustainability plan that's available for public comment as well. You can go to the santaineswater.org of the Eastern GSA, which is Solving is part of. The public comment on that is requested by October 24th. This is the first groundwater sustainability plan for this region, and it's in to comply with new state regulations. So we're definitely looking for everybody's input on that as well. Now, just a little update on commissions and committees. The DRC meeting for October 21st is canceled. We didn't have any applications, but the next meeting will take place on November 18th. The Tourism Advisory Committee will hold an additional special meeting before they hold their regular meeting on November 4th, but they will be meeting on October 14th, so later this week, to discuss the marketing RFP. So that agenda will be posted, and the meeting will take place on October 14th. The input from the TAC, the Tourism Advisory Committee, will be taken into consideration as advice to City Council, and then the RFP content will be brought to City Council for your approval, and we'll advertise that RFP for future marketing services. Just a reminder for everybody that the Yule Fest program is now available at solvingusa.com. That has been posted. The Wine Country Marathon is the next big event that we have coming up on October 23rd. And the Haunted House is back this year. It is going to be in a different location. Will be a little bit smaller behind the annex building here. And that is scheduled for the nights of the 29th and the 30th. Looking at the advanced calendar, we'll take a first look at the financials for current fiscal year and just give you an update on how we are doing on both revenues and expenditures through the first quarter of this budget year. I'll also bring to you an annual review of the investment policy. We'll have an update on Tier C sign management. A pay-for-performance program is something that I would like to have the council consider and put on a future or on the upcoming agenda for management employees. And then finally, we had an application that came in actually after the agenda was posted, so it wasn't in the advanced calendar of the packet that you received, but we do have an application from the Alice Range that has now been submitted to the city. And they're looking for conceptual review from the city council for a potential project to annex some of the land at the Alsa Ranch for a glamping project. So given that we have the urban growth boundary in consideration and we are looking to place this on the agenda, or the applicant is looking to place this on the agenda to receive general conceptual review from the city council, whether the city council is interested in us as the city staff working with the applicant on such application. Now, as we move into November, we'll be already starting looking at the next financial plan development, which will be for the 2 years of 22 through 24. So at the November meeting, we'll set or discuss the schedule of the financial plan development and the community engagement, which will ultimately lead to the formation of the next financial plan, which will be presented to council during June meetings. We are working on a utility rate study, so that's water and wastewater rates. So in November, we'll bring to you and the community the first meeting to discuss the process and the community education that will be involved with this process in order for us to go through Prop 218 this spring, and then have the council consider updating those rates. The groundwater sustainability plan will be coming for council consideration before it goes to the GSA for their review. We have a new ordinance that puts additional regulations and requirements on the city for organics recycling. That's Cal Recycle SB 1383. We need to bring forth a resolution which will put additional requirements on certain businesses in town for organics recycling, and we'll also need to be discussing with our waste management or hauler amendments to our basically practices of waste management. And then finally, we'll be coming back with a marketing contract RFP for your consideration before that's distributed and open for anyone to apply. And once that's completed, we'll be coming back to you with proposed contract for your approval. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of the staff report? I just have one. Can we let the community know what time the Tourism Advisory Committee meeting is on Thursday?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good point. The Tourism Advisory Committee will take place at 5 o'clock on October 14th.
5 o'clock, okay. All right, thank you. I'd like to invite all members of the public and the businesses especially to maybe try to get to that meeting and give all of your input. That's the reason we put this committee together, to try to get as much input as we can from the public. So thank you. Item number 3, moving on, council comments. Are there any council comments at this time?
Yes.
Councilmember Infante.
Oh, so you can see us now. Well, that's good. Or did you just hear me?
Now I can see you.
Okay. A couple of comments real quick. First, last weekend we had the car show. By all accounts, quite a resounding success. I just from a economic standpoint, I talked to a couple that came in here from Bakersfield and could not get a hotel room in this town for love nor money. They ended up staying at the casino. So business was good. I had the opportunity, since the mayor was not available, to choose the car that would be the best of the show and get the mayor's award. So I told everybody, this is my selection. If you don't like it, blame the mayor. And another item, so I went to a electrical bike testing situation that was held over at the Cork a couple weeks ago. Started talking to some people that are involved with the rideshare program down in Santa Barbara. Contacted the company that does that, a company called Hca, and spoke with them, got a lot of information. I have now made contact with the individual responsible for the Santa Barbara rideshare program. He works for the city. And I'm going to get some additional information. I would like to put on the agenda sometime in the future, maybe the next couple of agendas, not necessarily the next one. We'll see how crowded everything's getting. To present the idea to the council and to the public if something like a bike share program is a good idea for Solvang. I can tell you it's not cheap. The initial investment is the killer. Well, anyway, I'll bring all the facts and figures to you when I present that, but I'd like your permission to put that on the agenda sometime in the next couple of weeks so that we can just discuss it and see if it's even a viable idea for Solvang.
Is there general consensus to put this on the agenda?
Sure, I would be for that. I don't know anybody else, if whatever they feel.
Yeah, I'd
Sure.
be interested, yes.
I like all new ideas, at least to discuss. What could it hurt?
Can't hurt anything yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we do we want to try to do that one, maybe the first one in November?
Sounds good. I'll be ready by then, sure. And I'm just gonna start it off without bringing in any vendors or anything else. This is just the conceptual idea of, do we even wanna look into this? And I wanna be able to present some numbers, and what it's gonna take. And I've talked to Chamber of Commerce and a couple of other people about this, and I'll present all of their opinions as well, pro and con.
Can I add something? And I'm sure you're going to, but just let us know what other cities or how they handle it, what they're doing, et cetera. Use any examples you can bring would be great.
Hca has 40 cities across the country that they do this with. I have asked for representatives, from some of those that are similar sized. I don't want LA. It doesn't work here. But yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool.
That would be great. Looking forward to that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are there any other council members wishing to comment at this time?
Yes, I'd like to just make a comment.
Yep. Councilmember Thomas, go ahead.
Many of you may know or remember that between 1993 and 1996, when I was in the sheriff's office, I also held the position of Santa Barbara County Fire Chief. And I just want to ask people out there to keep their thoughts and prayers to those men and women that are up in this fire on the other side of the hill. It's a big fire, and it's in an area that has not burned in years. And so please keep them in your thoughts. They're up there working very, very hard.
I would echo those comments as well, being part of the patrols that do the fire patrols and the evacuations going forward. I understand there's a lot of wind going on down in that area, so that does not help the situation at all. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Anyone else wishes to share anything?
Yes, I would like to share that last Saturday I attended the Mayor's Gala for United Way. Councilmember Thomas was there too. We had a great time. And I want to comment United Way on a great event. United Way serves both North Santa Barbara County and South Santa Barbara County to address homelessness, hunger. They have a great literacy program for pre-elementary school kids to give them a kickstart before they start grade school. And they are introducing a financial literacy program, which is something that I think we do not stress enough, and that youngers can definitely use help with as the economy changes, and it's important to be financially literate. So I just wanted to share that. And also, if there's anything that this community is good at, is to connecting people in need with resources. So I just want to put it out there that United Way is also available for helping people in need.
Great. Are there any other comments at this time?
I just have a question. Is the marathon's is a week from this weekend, but is there a bike race this weekend? I forget.
Not that I'm aware of. We have the half marathon in 2 weeks.
Okay, I thought there was something else. Thank you. I have no other comments.
Okay. I just have a few just related to a couple of meetings that I've attended since our last council meeting. One of them was the Highway 154 Subcommittee Safety Committee meeting. And it was basically a question and answer session for the public to be able to address some of the concerns that they have, some of which affect us. Well, all of them eventually will affect us. The triangle that everyone is familiar with, of course, is Highway 154, Highway 246, and Highway 101, going through Buellton, Solvang, Los Olivos, and San Ynez, kind of hitting all of the major little towns that we have here, along with the reservation out there. And so one of the items that was mentioned was trying to get some more enforcement out there, and the CHP of Buellton was there to try to address those concerns. A number of the items are items that Caltrans specifically will have to address. Some of those we're bringing more signs to try to help enhance the safety of blind turns, corners, and things such as that. Another item was some of the vegetation that's overgrown that's covering some of the signs or some of the intersections that are coming into Highway 154 along the whole corridor from Santa Barbara all the way up to 101. And then I guess lastly, just there will be another meeting coming up at the SBCAG meeting, where they'll have some of the items brought forward that were discussed at that time. So that was one of the meetings that I attended. Again, just as a reminder, on October 23rd, we have our Santa Barbara Wine Country Half Marathon, which will be starting and finishing in Solvang. So there will be some road closures for everyone going forth through Solvang, and that would affect Atterdag, Chalk Hill, Friedensborg, Viborg, and Alamo Pintado Road, and then of course downtown Mission Drive, where there'll be a detour in place at Mission and Alisal, and at Mission and 5th Street. It will be going south of Mission Drive this time for this particular event. One of the other items was a note from the Air Pollution Control District. Beginning in October, there's going to be 2 controlled burns. One of them is going to take approximately 2 months. It will start mid-October and go through mid-November. That one will mainly be up in the Los Alamos area, but if you see smoke up there, that could be what that is. And then there's going to be another one in Los Olivos that will encompass about 1,500 acres, beginning in mid-November through mid-December. So that one will be the one more in San Ynez Valley that we may see some smoke related to that. Of course, all of this is predicated on weather conditions going forward. they will only do it if it is safe to do so. So that's just a little bit of a notice going forward. I also attended a California Mayor's Coalition meeting. The speaker was Lisa Middleton, who is a current CalPERS board member and was the former Palm Springs mayor. She's been part of CalPERS and working with California State for approximately 36 years. One of the biggest questions or new legislation that's going in place is SB 278, which is a change that will affect the city of Solvang as an employer, that as retirees are audited, I guess, during the course of their retirement, if there has been any overpayments or payments due, a lot of that has been going back to the employee, and the employee has been responsible for those overpayments or underpayments. And in this case, now it is now coming back to the employer to now be responsible for those overpayments. A lot of this is based, again, during an audit session where they're coming in and making sure that the years of service that the retirement board has been paying out actually correspond to the actual years. I guess there has been some fraud going on in the past, and so it sounds like at some point everyone will be audited through just to make sure that their CalPERS time is going to correspond with what they have for payments that have been given to current retirees. So that's kind of another big responsibility for the city, just to make sure that we're retiring everybody out properly. So that was probably the biggest takeaway from that particular meeting. Also, just a couple of other items going forward. State through SBCAG, Congressman Salud Carbajal held a virtual town hall meeting on October 7th. It was recorded, so you could go back and view it. If you go to the sbcag.org website, they have the link that you can watch the meeting. It basically, he was just trying to address some of the housing. He's part of the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, so is sharing what he felt, his optimism for some of the programs that are out there that would affect his area, which it does include us. So hopefully we'll be able to be a part of that going forward, maybe getting some grants to help with our infrastructure and transportation needs here with our roads and such. Also, there's going to be a Measure A Citizens Oversight Committee meeting that has been rescheduled to Tuesday, November 9th. That will be an in-person meeting. The location is to be determined at this point. Measure A Citizens Oversight Committee are members of the public. I believe last meeting I brought a couple of the newest members from the North County representing our side. They're ones to make sure that Measure A funds that are given to the county and our area are divvied out properly, and that's the meeting that if you have any concerns about how funds are being used and utilized in Santa Barbara County, in Santa Barbara County, that would be a meeting that you would want to attend. And lastly, Santa Barbara SB Bike Plus Coast is promoting a free symposium taking place tomorrow. And it's if you go to calbike.org/events/California_bicycle_summit, it takes place tomorrow at noon, and it will be to address safe cycling, practical and convenient ways to move around on bikes. So if any, it's going to have a question and answer. It starts, I believe it starts at noon. I don't know how long it's scheduled to go for, but that will be tomorrow. And then, what else? One last thing I have, just an update on the food bank. I didn't get the numbers for last Tuesday, but as of last Monday, from the session 2 weeks ago, there were 220 households served, a total of 867 individuals, 37 new households for the month. One stat that Food Bank did supply was for the first quarter report that they gave, and Bethania overall has served 2,555 unique individuals, served 20 homeless, 644 female heads of households, and in the past year, Bethania moved 856,079 pounds of food bank food, and that doesn't include the food that Bethania has purchased or has been donated, or that Veggie Rescue has also included. So that's been a great job that, again, Bethania has done with their group of volunteers there. They are the number 3 in North County for amount of food given out last year. So that just, again, kudos to Bethania Church and all the volunteers that have helped out with that. And then lastly, just on a personal note, I guess I just want to say thank you to all the people that have been responding to my son Luke, who he and his wife had a fire in their home on Thursday evening in the kitchen and caused some damage that they're going to be displaced for about 2 to 3 months, and some folks in the valley have been most generous of their funds to help them out, and I just really appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, may I add one thing?
Yes.
I forgot to mention, because I wasn't at the last meeting, on the 14th, the County Board of Supervisors appointed me to the Library Advisory Committee as the solving representative, and we had our first meeting via Zoom on the 15th, and I'll be attending those meetings from now on until I'm no longer on it. But I look forward to representing the library and the solving interest with the county library system.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing that.
All right. Any other final comments, or we can move on to item number 4, consent agenda? Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 4?
The consent agenda is designed for routine administrative city matters and is approved by one roll call vote and one motion. These items are discussed only on request of the council members. Members of the public were afforded an opportunity to speak on consent agenda items during the public communications portion of the agenda.
If you can read the agenda itself.
Okay, nothing to be pulled, all right. Approval of agenda as presented, approved minutes of the special and regular meetings of September 27, 2021, approved warrant register for the month of September 2021, received monthly Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department compliance report for the month of August 2021, received quarterly investment report for fourth quarter of fiscal year 2021, approved Amendment 1 to the agreement with Urban Planning Concepts, Inc. for contract planning services to increase the contract amount not to exceed $80,000 for the current term through June 30th, 2022, which will be covered by salary savings and recently adopted updated fees, and authorize the city manager to execute on behalf of the city.
Is there any council members that wish to pull any items from the agenda?
No.
None? Seeing none, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as written?
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
I'll
All right,
second
can I have a
it.
second?
I'll second it.
All right. Madam City Clerk, would you please take a roll?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Infante,
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Arona,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Mayor Urick.
Yes. All right. Moving on to public hearings. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 5?
Public hearing to consider electric trolley license application. Hold a public hearing continued from September 27, 2021 per Municipal Code Title 4, Chapter 12, to consider electronic trolley license application from Horses Entertainment LLC.
All right, is there a staff report?
Before that, Mayor Urick, I will be recusing myself as I have an interest in Horses Entertainment LLC.
All right.
Thank you. So I will present the staff report. So recently, you council adopted an ordinance that enacted Title 4, Chapter 12, which sets regulations for electronic trolleys in the city of Solvang. The purpose or the reason for this regulation was that tourism is the heart of Solvang's economy due to its Danish theme or motive, and so the electric trolleys do provide an opportunity to attract different types of, or to attract tourists and to provide different types of motorized vehicles to transport and entertain tourists. There is a need to regulate and control operation of electric trolleys due to the traffic impacts and safety considerations. So the code sets forth specific considerations for City Council to consider as these applications are received. So subject to the terms and the provisions of the chapter, the City Council may approve, conditionally approve, or deny the application for the license. The City Council may grant the license as applied for or in modified form. So the considerations set forth in this code are: first, the appearance of the electric trolley will conform to the theme or the motive of the city. The costumes or wearing apparel of the operators for the electric trolley will conform to the theme or motive of the city. The routes and time of operation of the electric trolleys will not substantially or unreasonably adversely deteriorate the quality of traffic, parking availability, or aggravate congestion within the city. The granting of the license will not be detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the city. All application requirements are met. However, nothing in this chapter shall require the granting of a license, and the City Council may limit the number, times, and routes or electric trolleys in order to best meet the purposes of this chapter. So we received an application from Horses Entertainment LLC. They have 14 years of experience providing guided tours in the Danish village. They state that there is demand for transportation assistance between hotels, venues, and points of interest. And they're proposing expanded touring services when horse-drawn transportation is not available due to weather conditions. The total number of vehicles that they're applying for is 5 trolleys. They're all 5 electric trolleys, to have capacity for 12 passengers, 1 for 10, and 1 for 22. And you can see a couple of the pictures here on the slide as examples of available trolleys. These are the proposed routes for the guided tours. So the application is basically twofold. One is guided tours and one is shuttle service. So these are 2 routes that they're proposing for the guided tour, which will be similar to that of the current horse-drawn trolley, except that one of these routes assumes that Copenhagen is open, and another one assumes that Copenhagen is closed. So those are the 2 that they're applying for. And then this slide here is their application for the shuttle service. So essentially, this proposal here is to allow the trolleys to be a shuttle service throughout the city. The applicant was asked to inform, as part of this application, where the drop-off and pickup locations would be, because that does impact traffic and safety. So you see there on the left the locations that they're proposing as the pickup and drop-off locations. So it will be at parking lot 1 alongside the Brickholm's Bakery, at the Veterans Hall, on Mission and Parkway, at bus stop after the crosswalk, at parking lot number 3 alongside the restrooms, and at the city parking lot on Oak. So that is what the applicant is applying for. The application is complete. The applicant has also worked with CHP for an inspection, and CHP has approved the trolleys to meet all of the state requirements at this point. Once again, you have full discretion to approve, deny, modify the license, and it can be approved for up to 5 years. The ordinance does require payment of a fee set by council resolution for this application. However, there is no additional fees for use of any kind of public facilities under the ordinance. That concludes my report.
All right, are there any questions of the staff report?
Yes.
Councilmember Infante.
I'm kind of curious, I'm looking at the shuttle map. I like the idea of a shuttle. One of the issues that we're gonna be dealing with is parking, of course, or lack thereof. And having a shuttle that comes from the hotels so that the cars can stay where they're parked at the hotels and shuttle people around makes a lot of sense. But looking at the shuttle map, there appears to be a U-turn on Mission. I cannot imagine Caltrans or anybody else, including us, putting up with that.
And the applicant is here as well, I believe, representatives. So maybe we can ask the applicant to
Yeah, please.
elaborate on that.
I love the idea of this, everything's, but that one drives me nuts. You can't do a U-turn on Mission.
No, no, that would be, yeah, definitely not doable. Best case scenario is finding a more suitable place to do a U-turn, like a side street, maybe a parking lot that's big enough for the trolleys to turn around. But yeah, a busy street like Mission, not the best place to do a U-turn. Yeah, so we wouldn't be doing that.
Well, it doesn't look like it's even needed, because it looks like as you're going west on Mission, and then you turn south on Fifth, and then turn east on Copenhagen, that's the loop. I don't understand why it shows going out and having a U-turn in the middle of Mission at the end of that. It doesn't look like it's even needed.
No,
Oops. There are, but you can't pull a U.
Are we okay with the council member consulting on this?
She's not voting,
I understand that.
but, yeah.
Okay. So to clear it up, the trolley is supposed to go to the Mission, and then at the Sunniness Mission, it will turn around and then come back the other way.
Sorry, we're talking the other end of the street.
The other end?
Yeah. Down by Fifth Place.
Mark, or Councilmember Infante, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I would say that's probably because just past the Fifth Street intersection on that north side, there's a bus pickup. That's normally where the SYVT has a pickup, just right there, at the, where they did the remodel at the old Holiday Inn Express. I still call it that, but
Yeah, I know. What is that
there's a
called?
bus stop right there on that north side.
But then, okay, so that would make sense to go down to that, but then how do they pull that U-turn? How do they turn around and come back the other way is the question. Because you can't do that on Mission Boulevard.
Now, I think if they did anything, the safest way would be to go to where the old antique center is and pull in there and
Go in
then
that
come back
parking
out.
lot. Turn around.
'Cause there's a left-hand turn pocket there.
Okay, so my point is, I don't want to, I like everything about this. I don't want to approve a U-turn on Mission as it's indicated on page, where is that? Page 73 of the submission in the application packet here. And if you look at that drawing, that's got the little penciled arrows in there, and there's a U-turn on Mission. And that's what I don't want to say is okay.
Councilmember Infante, if I may just clarify a little bit. I think the map that is on page 73 was part of the original application, which we have worked with the applicant subsequent to that to identify specific drop-off locations. And so what you see on page 74 is their latest modified map.
That wasn't made clear, thank you. Thank you. That makes it clearer. So now, they're not even gonna go all the way to Fifth Place. They're gonna turn down on Fourth Place. That means you don't go to that hotel, the old Holiday Inn, whatever it's called now. I forget the name of it. Binland, thank you, Counselor, appreciate that. Okay, that's fine. That was my concern, was I was looking at the wrong map, apparently. Okay, never mind.
So, Madam City Manager, I just want to clarify, you guys are talking about pages, I'm looking at page 158 and 159 and 160 on the agenda packet itself. Is that the same?
No,
No, I'm
It's
seeing
74.
our agenda,
doesn't go
it
that.
doesn't go that far, no.
55, 56, 56, 57.
So we're looking at pages 73 and 74.
No.
Right, yeah, because we only had 97 pages on the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah. Must be looking at the wrong one.
okay. So anyway, this is, I like this a lot for a lot of reasons. And one of them is that my intended thought process with the bike share program could very well integrate with this and make it when there wasn't enough bikes or somebody needed to ride, this would be working out really well. Sorry, I misunderstood the pictures, so my comments are withheld. Never mind.
I have a question.
Are there any other comments?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
How many trolleys does Horses LLC want to run on a given Saturday? Is it only when it's, I thought this was when it was too hot for the horses, they would do the electric, but this is in addition to, correct?
Yeah, so depending on several factors is the amount of trolleys we will run. For example, if there's a lot of demand and there's a lot of people that need transportation, we could do so. Now, if we see that the traffic just far too congested, then we definitely need to modify that. And of course, we don't. If we see that there's no need for a fleet of trolleys running around, then we wouldn't want to.
So you're saying there won't be 4 or 5 running around on a Saturday? I don't mean running around, but 4 or 5 in operation on a Saturday?
No, 4 or 5. No, because there'll be the 2-horse trolleys. Not 5. No.
But it could be 3 or 4 running on a Saturday?
Yeah.
What, is there any other questions?
I have one. Is
Go ahead.
there going to be advertising allowed either inside or outside the trolley?
Yeah, and that way it helps businesses to be promoted, as well as it helps our end of the business to.
How is that going to be handled from the standpoint of who you advertise or who you don't?
Well, we just offer the advertisement to local businesses, and if they want to advertise, they're welcome to do so.
So the photos that we have of the trolleys now don't have any advertising. Would that advertising be inside the trolley or on the exterior part?
It'd be, on the other trolleys we have inside and out. So it really depends how we would make it suitable so it wouldn't look too, too busy on it, so.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question, if I may. When the trolleys are on the public roads, will they be traveling the speed limit or doing the slow the tourist crawl, if you will?
The electric trolleys can travel a little bit faster. So like, for example, on streets like Mission, yeah, definitely we want to be doing the speed limit. Other streets, for example, let's say Copenhagen, where traffic seems to be slowed down, that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, we can do the speed limit, but most of the time those streets are so crowded that, we go slow anyways.
One more, if I may.
Go ahead.
You've got the parking lot shuttle route, and then you have the tourist routes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how many many trolleys would be dedicated to the shuttle route, for instance? Is it just one or two, or as needed? How do you set that up?
So right now we'll probably just have one doing the shuttle and then one doing the tours. If we see that there's a lot more demand, then we can probably make it a way where we can work. Maybe have two trolleys shuttling, but we would do it in a way that it wouldn't make the traffic more congested. So,
Are you gonna have horse-drawn and electric out at the same time?
we'll probably just have one horse-drawn and one electric to help the flow of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a few questions. One of them being, have you had a chance to time what your shuttle route actually, how long it takes? So that you can give a kind of a preconceived idea that is posted somewhere on your pickup spots of times that you would be coming by?
Yeah, it generally takes about 20-25 minutes to go through the loop. So we just gotta consider, loading up people, because that generally takes the longest, people getting on the seat and all that. So yeah, we're probably looking around 25-30 minutes of a loop, shuttling around, maybe a little, give 5 or 10 minutes.
One question I had down on the shuttle route is, and now I think I got the right page 73, looking at the bottom of Alisol, you're showing you go past Elverhoy, and then it looks again like there's a U-turn there. Is that the plan, or were you gonna maybe turn?
Mayor, if I may clarify once again the page numbers. So page 74 is the correct latest map for the shuttle services, which
Oh.
also includes the drop-off locations.
Right,
And page 72 has the routes for the tourist guided tour.
okay.
That was my confusion before also.
Yep. Mine as well. So then, going back to the actual proposed electric trolley route that I'm seeing, looks like 72, is that the right one?
Yes.
Okay, so on the bottom one, where it shows with the Copenhagen Drive closure, I've had some complaints of residents down in the Sycamore Way and 3rd Street that would really prefer not to have an electric trolley going through their residence. Maybe if we could just limit that to 2nd and then just coming straight down 2nd to Elverhoy and then heading east that direction instead of having to go in. Is that because the Elverhoy Museum is in line with that? Is that what that proposal was for?
Yeah, that's basically why we want to go down that street, just to show the tourists the Everhome Museum. Other than that, we really have no reason to go there.
Okay, because that's a little bit different than what you're doing, because this now is the one that you're proposing to cover when weather doesn't permit to have the horse-drawn trolley, correct?
Right, yeah.
And so is this actually the route that you are currently doing then, when the horse is able to go? Maybe that's why I have those complaints.
Yeah, that is actually, well, the horses, the ride on the horses, they're a little bit different. It's not as extensive as the ride on the electric trolleys, mainly because the electric trolleys can travel a little bit faster.
Right.
The horses, we have to incorporate a U-turn right in front of the Everhoy. That way we don't make the tour too long. Plus, there's nothing really to see after the Everhole Museum.
Right. Would there be a way to do that same thing then with the electric trolley as opposed to taking it down Sycamore and Third? I was only mainly just because of some of the residents that are down there have expressed to their dismay that they kind of, I guess the word to say would be put on display as they're out there maybe on a Saturday or Sunday cleaning up and stuff. Just a thought. So, how far up Atterdag are you planning to go? Because I know you had mentioned, or it had mentioned that it was going to go up to Bethania. And I know these maps don't show much above that elm. So how far up and what is the plan for once you get up to Bethania Church?
Once we get up there, we could go, if depending on the traffic, we could make a U-turn at the intersection once they see the Atterdag, or well, not at the intersection, but right next to it. Make a U-turn there. Other than that, if allowed, we could use the parking lot at the church to make the U-turn, go back on the street, and then go back on a route. That would also be another option.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to try to do that there as opposed, because I know we have frequent complaints of speeding coming down Chalk Hill.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do a U-turn there, that's right just north of that Laurel intersection, and a lot of people come down there pretty fast. Just a thought, might be safer to go into the parking lot and then come out that way.
Or every city that we have a traffic problem and a speed problem with, we just put a horse trolley on it.
Yeah, absolutely. To take this up to Skip Mesa.
Chief likes it.
Well, that's all I had. No further questions on that. These routes, I guess the last one, just as a comment, these routes have been shown to Lieutenant Green and the Sheriff's Department just to make sure that they're good with the routes, correct?
They have been shown to Lieutenant Green, although the only really input we have from law enforcement is the CHP examination of the trolleys themselves.
Okay. All right. That part I do understand, being that it's considered a conveyance, but I think it would be beneficial to have some input from our people that are actually patrolling our streets, law enforcement wise, because if there's going to be any complaints, they're going to be the ones that are going to be having to address those. And I think, not that I want to hold this up, but it would behoove us to have a meeting with them to discuss those routes if they have any concerns.
I think we
If
probably,
that has not been done yet.
I think we could probably assume, Mayor, that if these routes are proving to be a problem, we can change them. I think approving the ordinance does not put these routes in stone. So if there's an issue, we should be able to go directly to the operators and say, let's try something else.
I agree. I believe that is written in there, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Attorney?
I'm looking for the exact language, Mr. Mayor, but there is a provision in there that they're required to obey traffic laws and regulations scrupulously regarding the operation of vehicles. So if there was a situation that came up that was not being done, then we would certainly have that conversation with them.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any further questions. If there's anyone else?
I do.
Is there, can take it after public comment at this time?
Lieutenant Green has a comment, Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Mr. Mayor,
Hello there.
Council. I understand the verbiage that the attorney just read. I would strongly recommend some verbiage that specifically worded something that if there's a problem, that we have the ability to meet and confer. In other words, I don't want it locked in, because although I did see the original route, I haven't seen the new agreed upon route. And Mr. Mayor's making some good points, as long as we can work on those, to avoid, he's already put 2 problem areas in there to, hey, let's look at that. So if we have the ability to get together and work with them, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm not saying that I'm objecting in any way, other than I want to make sure we have a clause to be able to work with them in case we do end up with problems that were unforeseen.
So what I would propose is that we include as a condition of the permit, something that's permitted under section 4-12-9A, which says that the permit shall contain such conditions deemed necessary and appropriate to ensure public health, safety, and welfare, including without limitation, ... Requirements for operators of electric trolleys relative to vehicle traffic and safety, including if necessary to mitigate traffic congestion, a limit on the number, safe and courteous treatment, etc. So if we include a requirement that the permittee shall meet and confer with the city after 90 days from the issuance of the license to determine whether or not the routing is appropriate, and if not, that the parties will agree to modify the existing routing to address the concerns that the city has.
Go with that.
I think that sounds good. Thank you, Lieutenant Green. Is there any other comments, either in-house or on Zoom?
We have public comment.
Dennis.
Dennis Beebe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for your service to the community. I'd like to speak in favor of this application. I mean, it's just, I've looked at the streetcars. I saw the original application, so I don't know what the route is anymore. But, you know, everything was going in 2 directions. I didn't know what the loop was. I didn't see that they were expressly servicing the lot next to the multi-purpose room at Solvang School. They're going to Bethania, so they were close, but again, sometimes the arrows went off the border and I didn't know, where they were going. But shuttle service to the hotels and parking lots and other event locations, just super. Again, the trolleys themselves are delightful. I'm worried that they're going to get plastered with posters, so they won't be as delightful, but I don't know exactly how you control that. Maybe the design committee, huh? But it's wonderful, great idea. Electric, how can you argue against electrification, huh? So
Do it to your
all for
Jeep.
it. Sir?
Electrify your Jeep. Never mind.
Mr.
All
Mayor.
right, thank you, Mr. Beebe. And that does bring to mind, during the weekend when that parking lot over at the school, parking lot P, there might be considered a stop over there. That would be easy to go in and come right back out off of there.
Mr. Mayor.
So it might be something to add.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Could we possibly ask the applicant if, kind of going with Mr. Beebe's idea, of perhaps if the advertising on the trolley could be on the inside where the patrons are sitting as opposed to the outside of the trolleys?
We could definitely make it work. That way, it doesn't seem like it's super overcrowded. Right now, the electric trolleys, they don't have a lot of wall room like the horse trolleys. So in that case, the only 2 places we could place advertisement would be either on top, on the roof, like, no. So, yeah, it's. We're willing to work and make it look presentable. Definitely don't want.
Tasteful.
Yeah. So.
I would definitely be in favor of that. I'd really like to see the trolleys stay the outside as they are shown and as they were in that kind of a grand opening that everyone attended a while back when they named them. So it would be nice to be able to not see any commercial advertising on the outside of them at least. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, if that's the intent of the council, I would recommend that you impose that as a condition specifically, that advertising either be not permitted on the exterior or that it be permitted on the exterior subject to some approval authority. And I'm not sure whose court to put that in, whether the city manager or the DRC or someone else, but it does have a tendency to open it up to some issues of First Amendment regulation, and also state preemption regarding vehicle code. The vehicles, if they're being registered by the DMV, we have limited ability to regulate, but since we are issuing a license, I think that we do have the power to impose such conditions on the license as effectuates the council's intent.
I would ask the rest of the council what they feel.
Part of my concern would be that part of their income comes from that advertising. And it supports these trolleys so that they're not overly expensive for the tourists and things. I would hate to see, these are beautiful and they're really pretty. I mean, the wood, everything about them is very nice. And to see a bunch of advertising on them would be not my favorite thing. But I'm not sure I want to say no advertising on it, would be my opinion. And I would like to see the DRC talk about it, if we're going to put a requirement on it.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with putting it in the DRC's hands is what are the standards that'll be used to judge it. We don't really have anything in effect other than the provision in section 4-12-8 that says the appearance of the electric trolley will conform to the theme or motif of the city. That's what we have, and that is pretty broad, really obviously broad. Subject to the eye of the beholder in that situation. I suppose there's we did not anticipate there being external advertising in putting together this ordinance.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a little bit different situation than the horse-drawn carriages because those are not subject to DMV regulation. Those have had historical advertising on them, so we did not anticipate that in putting it in the ordinance itself. But you do have the overall idea that the appearance of the electric trolley's got to conform to the theme or motif of the city, and if the advertising is not in conformity with that, I guess you'll know it when you see it at that point, and we can make a determination of whether or not to meet with the applicant and determine whether or not they can make some alterations to it.
Well, see, one of my points of comparison, I was at the car show this weekend, and the pedicabs are coming through with ads on the back of the pedicabs. I don't even know that we allow that, do we? I don't know what the pedicab license is. I don't know what that says. But there were pedicabs with ads on the outside of them. So is this a different case? Because it's motorized versus somebody pedaling it?
Well, with the electric trolleys, they're certainly different because the pedicabs are not going to have a DMV regulation on them.
Right.
So they're going to be covered by Chapter 7, Title 4, the business regulations of the code. They'll have a little bit different thing. I haven't looked at that specific issue, but it's apples and oranges, so to speak. The trolleys are regulated by DMV. We have to think about preemption in that situation, but you do have provisions in your code that say it's got to fit or conform to a particular motif. Pedicabs, not covered by those.
I do recall when I was on the Board of Architectural Review that we reviewed the horse-drawn for the ads on it. And there was a lot of discussion about it back and forth, and that's why I was thinking the DRC would be the group to review it for the electric trolleys. We didn't put any restrictions on them, really. We did put a couple. I forget what it was now, but I mean, it's been that way forever, and they're all local businesses that they're advertising. It's not like they're advertising Ford or McDonald's. You know, it's Ingeborg's and you know, so yeah, I'm conflicted.
No, you can put it in the approval hands of the DRC. I'm just pointing out that there's going to be a lack of guidance as to how to determine what is appropriate and what is not.
Well,
We can certainly write a code, but you're going to have this permit in place or you're not going to, and then we would have to go back, revise the ordinance, first reading, second reading, 30 days for effective date. You're going to be putting the trolley operator in a holding pattern, so to speak.
well, if we approve it as is, and then see if that's a problem, it could always be brought back at a future date if it was an issue.
And that's
Is
why I
that
say,
correct?
yeah, you could make the determination that the advertising is not conforming to the theme or motif of the city. So if you had, for example, I'll use an extreme example because it frames the argument. If they had neon signs flashing Ingeborgs on the side and it was flashing all night long, that would be something where that would not be keeping with the theme or motif of the city. However, if it was tasteful carved wood or, smaller signs that are not visually detracting from the trolleys themselves, then that would be keeping with the motif. And you could make that determination as a council.
At a later date. Okay. I think they got the idea, so.
Is there any other questions of the council or comments? And no other public comments? I can't see up there, so.
Would anybody else in the audience
You're
like to
facing
make
the wrong way.
public
Yeah,
comment?
I know.
There's one more public comment in the
Okay.
audience.
Hello, my name's Jared Frost. I've worked on and off the trolley. I've been a tour guide on the trolley for probably about 9 or 10 years now. I've worked on a ton of ranches throughout the valley, and I'm just in support of the trolley because I definitely think there needs to be more things to do in Solvang. A lot of people that come and ride the horse trolley, we give tours to them. The main problem they have with Solvang and San Ynez Valley is there's not many activities. There's a lot of shopping, there's a lot of wine, there's bougie little clothes stores, but there's nothing to do. Families come here because they can't afford to go to Disneyland, so they come here as a vacation to find something for their kids and family to do, and then there's not really anything for them to do except spend money. And obviously, that's what's going to support the economy, that's what's going to help the town, if people are here spending money, but people want to come back. And one thing I've seen on the horse trolley is we have the same families come back every year. I have one family that comes and rides the trolley once a month, and they're from, Sacramento, and every time they come through the valley here, they come and ride the trolley. And then on the days we don't run because it's too hot or, rain or whatever weather conditions we have on the horse trolley, we get a ton of people complaining on Google, on our reviews, saying they drove here 3 hours just to ride the horse trolley. So, one of the biggest things is we need more things for people to do here, Not everybody wants to ride a 30-minute guided tour. Some people just want to go from 5th Street to 4th Street or 5th Street to Atterdag or whatever. They want to get from point A to point B, but they want to do it in style. They want to ride on a little motorized trolley and take pictures. And I feel like there's a severe lack of that in this town, of just not enough things to do. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. So thank you.
All right, thank you for those comments. Are there any other comments that the public would wish to make right now?
There's no further comment.
All right, seeing none, bring it back to council for final comments.
I'll make just one. Maybe we can get IDK involved in this and do an ad campaign around coming to Solvang because you can't afford Disneyland. See how that'll work. My only comments are, I can't support this bill the way it is, or this amendment the way it is. I like a trolley. I like a horse trolley. Many of the answers to the questions that were brought up were probably and basically, and this is a 5-year contract, and it's final by the council, and I'm worried about the residents and putting 3, 4, 5 trolleys on the roads on a Saturday, I can't support it. Also, with the advertising, whether it's inside or out, you have businesses in town, and I'm just thinking ahead about the calls I'm gonna get tomorrow in the emails as well. You have businesses that are getting fined for putting a placard 10 feet off their front door, yet you've got 30 ads on 5 different vehicles running around town. The other residents or other business owners are going to be upset about that. So as much as I like a trolley and I like electric trolley, I can't support this the way it's written. That's just my opinion.
Thank you for those comments, Councilmember Clark. I guess one of the comments I would have would be kind of going along with the same thing. Adding so many more vehicles on the road, to me, just I think up to 5 is a lot, especially for the downtown area that we already have congestion. And given the fact that we have Copenhagen closed, that just impacts Mission Drive, which these vehicles will be allowed to go onto Mission Drive. One of the other concerns I have is the fact that it's showing as being a 5-year commitment, but I think that's what we could give it up to if we wanted to. So I would not be in favor of 5. I would be in favor of possibly a 1 year with a 90-day review for traffic with our sheriff's department, just to make sure that everything has been running smoothly and not impacting traffic like it's a possibility that it could. So that would be some of my comments on that.
Mr. Attorney, can we do that?
Under 4-12-10, any license issued pursuant to this chapter shall be up to 5 years. So you have the ability to impose that as a condition on a shorter period of time, as well as putting in a review on that. You have fairly wide discretion as to which conditions you're going to put on the permit, but I would advise you that you put them on the permit at the outset rather than trying to add them later on, because I think then the applicant has an idea of what will be expected in the upcoming term.
Any other comments at this time?
Did we get a good answer on the issue of Sycamore and Third? Is that, again, is that needed to get to the museum?
No, so like we said, we can make it in a way so we wouldn't go through Sycamore. So we could make a U-turn in front of the.
Go straight.
Yeah. So, yeah, but.
Because you're not making a U-turn there anyway, you're just going and it's kind of a circle around, but you're still then turning and going over to Alisal. You can just go straight and turn left and go to Alisal without having to go on Sycamore and Third.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, we're always willing to work with the city. I mean, if there's some sort of issue on the street or whatever, yeah, I mean, we can make it work, so.
And I am comfortable that they've been able to support any problems that there's been, I mean, and deal with them. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think, though, that a couple of good points. And maybe we should get something down a little bit more firm before we say yes to the whole thing, even for a 1 year, like the routes. Who's going to do all that? We have the applicant bring us back the routes final with our comments?
What I heard from the mayor is put a 90-day review on it, so determine after 90 days whether the routes that they're following are appropriate. That's a way that you could do it. You could also make it conditional on approval of the routes by the city council, by the city manager, by the sheriff's department, whatever approval authority you want to put on there. But you have some maps on there as far as proposal. You know which ones are okay, which ones you don't want on there, and it might just be easiest to give it a try for the 90 days, and if there are problems with any of them, that the parties will address it at that point.
So a 1 year contract with a 90-day review?
Well, let me just be clear, and this is an important distinction because I want to make it really clear. This is not a contract between the city and Horses LLC. because that would be a problem under Government Code Section 1090, because you have a council member who has an interest in it.
Right.
This is a license being issued by the city for a business to operate.
Okay, but so a one-year license
Correct.
with a 90-day review at the end of the 1 year,
I would say at the outset.
at the outset.
So you get ahead of any problems on the traffic routing. So if after 90 days from the issuance of the permit, there are problems with the traffic, then the traffic plan has to be amended or revised at that 90-day.
I like that. I like that. Are we ready for a motion?
Is that what is recommended for this? Because it's still considered a public hearing right now. We would just give direction to the city manager on how we would want to have this license.
Yes, I think you can give the city manager direction on how to administer the license, but the council is the one that's going to be placing the conditions on it at the outset. So if it's a one-year license, that would be part of the motion. If there's a 90-day review on the traffic routing of it, that'll be a condition. And if there are any other conditions that the council wishes to impose at the outset, this would be the time to put those in as well.
Do I have a motion from anyone?
Yes. I'll move then that we approve a license with a 90-day review, a one-year license with a 90-day review to take a look at the routes and any advertising.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a roll call?
Councilmember Clark.
No.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Arona recused. Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Mayor Heurig.
Yes.
Passes 3-0. 3-1, sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll wait for Mayor Pro Tem Arona to arrive. All right, moving on to item number 6. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 6 into the agenda?
Logo and branding conceptual approval. Review updated recommendations for a logo for the use by the city for official business and as a style selection to be further developed by the city's marketing consultant, IDK, under the existing contract as part of the marketing website update.
Thank
All right,
you.
is there a staff report?
Yes, so this item is in front of you because the city is in progress of updating both of its websites. One is our city government website, cityofsolvang.com, and the other one is the marketing website, which is solvangusa.com. We are also in process of reviewing and refreshing or coming up with ideas to refresh signage around town, including the entrance signs on both sides of town and any new directional signs as part of this process. As part of the process, the city needs to determine a brand, including a logo, so that we can develop those tools and a new refreshed brand and look for all of the signage across town, which then turns into the experience for the tourists. We need to choose a direction on the brand and the logo. So a couple of months ago, you as council had an original preview of logos that we were working on. And I was definitely, there was different comments, but there was definitely some interest in looking into a free logo that one of our residents and business owners, Raina Karskov, had put together for the city. So we took, we took that version to the DRC, and I'll talk to that in a little bit, which is why we're here today with their recommendations. But just to walk you through what we have currently and why we're kind of struggling with an update of all of our websites without needing a direction here going forward is because we have all these different versions of logos. So this page here shows the logos that the city has been using to identify its official business throughout the years, and it was themed around a mermaid, which then took kind of these different iterations. Well, we did a survey, and our survey of the public definitely showed that the windmill was something that people associate Solvang a lot more, and there was kind of lack of knowledge as to why the mermaid, since probably not everybody thinks of that as the Hans Christian Andersen's tale of the Little Mermaid. So Rene Kerskov has put together this slide here that just identifies different types of signs and styles that are present out there, both in physical form, so where you see the building signs on the far right there, which are two different. One sign is in front of the visitor center, which is different from the entrance to the city that you see in the middle there. And then we have all sorts of different representation on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and different social media. That is quite different in its stylistics, but it all says Solvang. So the idea is to be more on brand and have something that clearly identifies Solvang when the tourists look at our advertisements when they're not here, and then they come into the city and they still have that same brand if we were to replace our signage at the entrances of the city. And also create some better wayfinding and signage throughout the city on that brand. So this logo was an updated logo that Rene updated based on the feedback that we received through the survey, which there was comment for preference of blue and maybe a little bit of red added to it. So this is his latest version, which he is happy to provide to the city of Solvang free of charge in its high resolution. And this version was introduced to the design review committee. They also reviewed some of the versions of the logos that you saw when we brought us to you before. And the design review committee certainly unanimously liked this logo and this brand. So we have very positive feedback from the design review committee on this, and they are our designer team. This would be the brand and the colors that are proposed. So if you think about the updates to the websites, both the marketing one and the city one, this would be the color scheme that we would be using. This slide here shows different application of the logo. So as we move forward, if you're generally supportive of this direction, we would then work with both our team for the city to update our official city logo, and also work with IDK as the marketing consultant under their current existing work scope that they have through December 31, which actually includes refreshment of the marketing website and creating a branding scheme. So if this is a desired brand, then the IDK team will come up with different renderings for basically creating an inventory of tools that then can be used for different marketing efforts using this type of logo. And that concludes my presentation. Just looking for general comment from council and your general direction so that we can, if this is a logo and a brand that you feel is on brand for Solvang, then we will continue with those efforts on both the marketing and the city side going forward.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions of the staff report?
Yeah, I have one question.
Councilmember Thomas?
I don't see in here any coloration examples. I see the black and white, unless I'm missing it here somewhere. I see there's, you know, the 4 color pads that are, I guess, the colors that are allowed, but are there any?
Yes, so if we can
the
put
ones
my...
with the different colorations?
So this would be the general theme of the logo, and those 4 colors would be the color theme that would be used throughout the website.
Well, I love the logo. I'm just wondering what they look like with the different colors, if we're using them.
So the logo is proposed with those particular colors. The color dots represent different the color scheme that would be used throughout the website.
Oh, but not the logo. So
But not the logo,
this
right.
logo will remain as we
Right.
see it with the
Correct.
little red 2 lines and everything
Correct.
else as it
Yep.
is. Okay. I missed it. Thank you.
I have a question. Would the
Go ahead.
same, would both city websites and tourism websites use the same theme, or is there going to be any variation?
Yes, so we are proposing this brand, this theme would be used for both the marketing and the city side. Obviously, on the city side, we need a lot less. We just need the logo to represent our official business. On the marketing side, once again, if you feel that this is the right direction, then IDK will continue to work with this theme and will come up with different tools and iterations of that logo that can be applied to, say, the signs on the entrances of the city, to wayfinding, et cetera, and different social media tools.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, will those designs come to us, or we're just going to give it carte blanche as it is, and they'll do with it as they see fit?
Those designs can come back to you if you'd like to have them come back. My original thinking was that we would definitely work from here on with the Tourism Advisory Committee as well, as part of the IDK's scope of work through December 31st. And then that process will establish the inventory of different tools using this brand. And then if you wish as council, we can bring that to you for your approval as well.
I don't know if I want to make it that formal. That's all I have.
I like it. I like several things about it. I'm a little confused if we look on page 81. You've got the emblem that says a secondary logo for smaller applications, labels, and social media. That shows the established dates. And then you've got what does that say? Isolated emblem to serve as an icon, watermark, and stamp. And it does not show the established dates. Why is that?
So I would look at this presentation on page 81 was just Renee Korskov kind of showing how this particular theme of a logo, which is really shown on page 80, can then be transformed into different tools that can be used, say, for marketing. So these were just some examples he put together, but it would really be the work of IDK going forward to establish that inventory of different slight variations of this logo to use. So it still looks on brand, still looks very identifiable as this logo, but might be tweaked just a little differently for the use on, your Instagram, Facebook, versus something that would be applied to a wooden carved sign at the entrance of the building.
Well, I understand that. My preference of these two emblems is showing the establishment date of 1911. I like that. I think it's kind of important to show our history. I would recommend that we use that. I assume that one of these emblems, as is shown in the lower right-hand corner here, is the stamp that our city clerk would use to officiate paperwork. Put the emblem on it with a signature? Yes? No?
Not necessarily.
No? You just print the emblem on the official stationery, and then if it's signed, it's cool? That's it, huh?
We have official stamps, and yes, we would, whatever needs to be updated, if the logo on page 81 is the official city logo, that's the type of stamp we would use for official business.
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah. Okay, I mean, I like this. I always have since Rennie proposed it, was it 2-3 years ago? So I'm in favor of it.
Any other comments?
I love it.
What? Positive?
Then it's done.
I love it.
Councilman Clark loves it. Hey, get out of here. Good night.
Who has the last word?
Even I'm looking for this guy.
Yeah, I think it looks really great.
I did that. Oh, we got it.
All right, is there anything further that you need on this item? I'll take it out to public comment if there is any. I'm not seeing anyone joining me on Zoom here, I don't think so.
There is nobody on Zoom, and we have one member of the public here with us.
All right. I can see Mr. Beebe, go ahead.
Walk on one of the emblems, not that I don't like it, but I caution you, and you brought up an example, Councilman Infante, is how insidious these decisions are going to be. I'm all for consistency and consistent branding, but how much is this going to cost? Just curious. You love it, and it's going to be given free electronically to the city, but that's just the beginning. So I just caution you to get an estimate as to how much this is going to cost. You know, you're going to change the sticker on the police cars and the carpets. I don't know exactly, but it's everywhere, and you've been at it for, well, since the city was a city. So I just caution you to find out how much all this is going to cost before you fall in love with any of these new emblems.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Beebe. Is there any other comments out there with the public?
Is no further comment?
No further comments? So just bring it back to council then for final comments and direction.
That is a great question. I mean, I like the fact that we're gonna change it and everything. Do we have an idea of what it's gonna cost to change the city limits outside the signs, the glass windows like that? There's the rug down there, there's a ton of this stuff around. And, I mean, the bus stop there, you showed pictures of what's it gonna cost to change all that?
Well, it depends, and it's definitely, so where we are right now in the process is that we have, on the city side, we have a free redesign of our website that's included with the services we already receive and pay for. So now with this color scheme and the logo, they would be able to just go ahead and help us with that. We also already have a contract with IDK that includes as part of their work scope through December 31st, creating a brand style guide basically for the city of Solvang, making recommendations with the type of signage refreshment, and also updating the website, which is the marketing website, Solvang USA, with this brand new look. Now, any projects that would include, city work and investment of funds, such as new signs replacement at the entrances of the city, or a wayfinding program. We used to have these pods that are removed right now temporarily because that QR code was outdated. It had just the QR code and then shops, everything, every direction. So those are removed temporarily, but the recommendation would be that, there needs to be a new, better improved wayfinding program going forward. So those projects would be the, sub-product of this branding exercise. If this is the branding that we are using now on the websites, then we'll come back to you with recommendations for additional projects to then comprehensively also replace and create this new brand look and experience for the tourists when they're actually here in Solvang.
I'm hearing a whole lot of words and no dollars.
Can I add to that, though?
Yeah, please.
I think the point you're trying to make, no, never mind, I shouldn't put words in your mouth. We have 38 different brands and logos and mats around the town as it is right now. This is important for what goes out to the potential visitors of Solvang on the website, etc. Everything else can be changed over time. This is about our brand being projected out and not what we're looking like in.
Well, if I remember correctly, Councilman Clark, you even recommended that the sign coming into town be updated.
No, I said repainted.
Repainted, okay.
It's because the paint's peeling off and I see visitors in front of this, right outside my office. I can see it from my office and there's people out there taking pictures. I just want it repainted. Okay, I'll repaint it. I work at a lumber yard. I can get some paint, I'll repaint it, it costs $14. Done. I have to say, okay, sandpapers.
You have to carve this emblem.
$22. Yeah, I'm not a wood carver. Anyway, I'm saying that this is for what's projected to the world, not for what's here, so.
I agree, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just trying to follow on the comment. Do we have any idea what this is gonna cost? I mean, the websites are nothing. It's a graphic, you stick it up there and it's done. And yeah, we got somebody doing the website, IDK is taking care of the branding. But we got a bunch of signs and glass and rugs and
So those are
stuff.
decisions for the future, and obviously the glass doesn't necessarily need to be replaced. The glass is part of this building. So those decisions of what the city decides to replace in the future, including signs in the entrances, would be part of your future council decisions. We'll just bring to you recommendations. I can tell you just anecdotally, somebody had approached me to create a new sign for one of the entrances, and his quote was $10,000 for one of those. That was just, somebody approaching the city, not actively looking for the best deal.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. 10,000. Okay, so I know a sign maker that can fix that. It'd be a lot less expensive than that.
There you go.
Well, that's why I would have liked,
I'll do it for $4.
that's why I would have liked to see a take on the logo that maybe brings us a more modern, updated look on the theme of the mermaid, just because we do have historical signs and things that, the city uses, or they're recognizable through town. Of course, those can be changed through time, but I would have liked to see that option, yeah.
Well, I think personally, I don't know what it's gonna cost, we'll have to look into it. But I think personally, I like the logo very much, and I'd like to see us go forward with it. But I would also think that we wanna put the signs on the outside of town coming in, updated with the new logo. And that's a cost. I don't think $10,000 is what I would have estimated it at, but yeah, I agree.
Any other comments?
I do have another comment. The logo that is proposed right here is awfully similar to another logo of a business in town. I am concerned that this is a way for somebody to suggest a logo so that every single piece of Solvang reference that is sanctioned by the city using this logo is now also giving somebody free advertisement for their business. If we wanted to do a windmill, we had windmills proposed on the previous logos. In fact, I like the fact that the other logos were positioned in a way that the windmill looked as part of a community and not a standalone windmill. I don't think I necessarily see Solvang when I see this logo, other than because it has the lettering on it. If I see it without the lettering, I'm thinking Don Quixote, because it also has windmills.
Yeah.
So I have a huge issue with this logo. I would love to see the other options, just because I see a huge conflict of interest on pushing a logo that also looks awfully similar to another local business. I think it's a very sneaky way to get free advertisement.
Any other comments on that?
I mean, seriously, it's even the same.
Which business are you talking about?
Blue Mills Bakery, which is owned by Rene Carsko, that also designed this logo. I appreciate, we obviously appreciate the help, and we all care about our town, and we wanted to do well, but I'm not comfortable with this move. He didn't even change the color scheme. It looks awfully similar.
Are we only looking right now just for direction, that if this is how we maybe wanted, to go forward, and then have our TAC as well as IDK come up with some ideas that incorporate something similar to this? I do see where Claudia is coming from as far as having a logo similar to a business that's already existing in Solvang. That I don't think would be a good look for Solvang.
I do have a question. Has the Tourist Advisory Committee have a chance to review this?
Tourism Advisory Committee has not worked on this to date, so the Design Review Committee has looked at it, and they were unanimously in favor of this. The Tourism Advisory Committee would obviously give feedback to IDK under their oversight of the tourism side of things, and make any comments as far as the tools that would be proposed, which is within the scope of the IDK contract. This item here, if you are in favor of this logo, would then inform both the processes of the City of Solvang official website once again and the marketing website. I know that when Renee had put together the original logo, which was actually more of the kind of the tan color to it, was the original version over 2 years ago. When that didn't go through a formal approval with the council and kind of just dropped off. I know that when he opened or purchased the additional business, the bakery, in addition to the Copenhagen House, that he's been using that version of the logo for different bakery products. So I'm sure there is ways in which we could probably identify that certain elements of the logo would be just the city's, if Rennie is willing to provide that service free to the city.
I'm not sure that this really advertises Rennie's, because if you think about it, in a very short period of time, every business around town will use whatever logo we choose. Today, maybe. I'm having a tough time saying, if I see this coming into town, that advertises for Rennie's Bakery. I don't know that I would agree with that. I do kind of like the idea of putting a couple of buildings behind it, so it looks like a city and not just a windmill. I didn't like the one that was proposed previously as a drawing. This is much cleaner and much more attractive, but having a couple of buildings with it would be kind of a nice addition to make it look like a city. But I'm not overly concerned that it's really advertising Rennie's business over anybody else's, because pretty soon everybody will use this label.
There's really not a timing issue on this, is there?
There is some timing issue. I mean, you know, the city website, we won't be able to start the update until this is done, but it's also not so urgent as far as when we actually go through the city website update as far as its design and look. On the marketing side, you have a contract with IDK that has this branding element to it. So there is some flexibility within that if this is already decided on and agreed upon, then IDK's work products through December 31st will be creating that inventory of different tools for marketing spinning off of this logo, and also updating the website with this new brand. If we go back and there's more iterations, then we could ask IDK, for example, to add a couple of versions of, you know, buildings to the back of it, but it definitely slows down the progress, so it depends on where you want to spend.
Do you think we could have something like that done by the next council meeting?
I would have to check with, I wouldn't want to speak on the consultant's team's availability necessarily.
Part of me is a little confused because creating a website doesn't require that you have the image available. You just have to have the image space available. You can create all the rest of the website. And as long as you have depicted that part of the graphic available, once the graphic's defined, you make it fit, put it on, and it's done. So I don't see how that should just slow down the website development.
Well, it's all about the brand. So this color scheme and the logo itself creates a brand that then the designers who are designing all the pages of the websites on both our city website and the marketing website, everything is designed graphically based off of this palette and this logo.
Okay, so if we agree on the palette. we
And the
agree-
general theme and the drawing of the logo, because it's obviously very different than some of the logos that you were presented before.
Yes. So we agree on the palette and the basic design, and maybe with the additions of the buildings to make it look more like a town, which we are, and not just a windmill. I like that idea, actually. That shouldn't slow down the website startup, should
No,
it?
that would give us enough direction today to keep moving.
In that case, I'd like to move. Do we approve this? Or is this
We
just
need to
a?
have a motion on this,
I would
or
prefer,
just give
given
general
the,
direction?
I think given the fact that we have a lot of different discussion here, I would prefer that you would have a motion.
Okay.
Do you have thoughts on maybe allowing our consultant IDK, since they're the ones that are gonna be building the website, to present what they think would be appropriate?
With, under the concept that you had proposed from the previous design, that it has just a couple of the local Danish-style buildings, the high peak, those things, in the background, so we're depicting a village and not just a windmill. But basically, this is the design and the color scheme that we go with. If IDK can put together something like that for the next meeting, we should be ready, and they can start developing the website around it.
I'd like to
Can we
do
make
that. I'm a little
into
worried.
short motion?
No, I'm just saying, I'm a little worried that buildings that will make it almost too cluttery.
That's my, if I could add, I think it looks really, really clean and really crisp, and it just sends a quick, clean message. And I like it just the way it is. I don't want to clutter it. That's just my opinion.
Well, that's out of it.
Then I would, anything, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
I mean, if there's anything else, then I think I have a motion. Yeah, I would like to make the motion to provide this input to our consultant, IDK, and to come up with a proposed design based on what has been discussed.
Can I modify the motion a little bit? So the motion is to approve the color scheme, the basic design, and then let IDK come up with a couple of alternatives with other buildings, and if they're too busy, then we can go back to this one.
I was thinking that they should have a chance to have an input on the color scheme that they should use.
They did, didn't they? Weren't they involved in these color schemes?
I have had discussions with IDK on this particular presentation. So they haven't made specific recommendations. It definitely came from Rennie, but this color scheme is a modified color scheme from the original Rennie's design, and it's based off of the survey of the community who saw blue as the primary color that they would prefer to see in a logo.
Don't tell the Danish flag makers that, okay?
So,
So is there gonna be a motion?
Yeah, one step forward, 4 steps back.
Yeah.
I think there was a motion, but no second on that motion at this point.
How about right now, we just make a motion to accept what we have right before us with nothing else? And is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
I'm sorry, would you restate that, Mr. Mayor?
It would be just a motion to accept what we are looking at right now with, we'll get input at some point, but it's essentially just looking at what we have right now with no adding of buildings or anything like that, just the motif that we're looking at with the color scheme that we are looking at as it stands right now.
So that's the original concept, that's your motion then? I mean,
Yes.
from.
What you're looking at, yeah.
So there's been a first and a second, roll call?
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Infante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Arona.
No.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes.
Mayor Heurig.
Yes. That passes.
Passes for one.
Moving on to last item, which is adjournment.
It's AB 1234.
Yeah, do we have any meetings that, Mayor Pro Tem Arona, that seminar that you went to, did you have any comments regarding that?
Yes, so, last September 22nd through 24th, I had the pleasure of attending the annual conference for the California League of Cities, which was attended by about 2,000 attendees between public officials, city managers, staff, and city attorneys. There was a lot of disappointment on the passing of the bills AB 9 and 10, which Cal Cities will continue to fight. And Cal Cities is also making an effort for the following year to expand access to broadband and put in more broadband fiber on all communities, as it's been cleared after the pandemic that there's huge disadvantages to communities that don't have access to internet, especially when work and school are happening at home. I attended the fundraiser for the Cal Cities PAC that does all the lobbying for Cal Cities, and it advocates mostly for local control. We want to make sure that our cities can continue to plan for our community based on our input from our constituents, and continue to fight for that chance with the state legislature that often passes bills that affect our communities without thinking about what the local impact it's going to have. And it's a great conference. All of the materials for the presentations are available on the Cal Cities website, and I would encourage all of you to check them out to see what we talked about. And let me tell you, after talking to city officials and staffers from all over, Solvang is doing pretty well, and I'm certainly very thankful that we don't have a lot of the problems that they do. So, good job, Solvang.
Thank you for that report, Mayor Pro Tem Arona. I really appreciate you being able to attend that conference. Hopefully next year I'll be able to get there.
It's hard work. You have to stay up till 2 in the morning. City officials can hang.
And you say party? All right. Any other council comments, closing comments at all? Otherwise, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:34. Thank you all. We'll see you.
Thank you.